Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Thursday. Hope the day's going well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. Thank you as always for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Bit of a quiet day today. We're kind of in that weird little zone when the international break's over, but we haven't yet really sort of started with the press conferences or anything like that ahead of this weekend's games. Mikel's press conference is going to be 1:30 tomorrow at London Colney. I will be there for that. So looking forward to hearing what he's got to say ahead of that game against Nottingham Forest. Feels like that Liverpool game was a long, long time ago. It has been a good international break for Arsenal. We spoke about that in yesterday's show. Lots of players have gone, they've performed, they've scored goals, they've got assists, they've played well defensively. Hopefully they can all bring that confidence back and go smashing into that game on Saturday and get the 3 points that Arsenal need just to bounce back from that defeat against Liverpool. So we're going to talk about that Forest game in today's show, especially the sort of the left-back situation, which I just think that's going to be really intriguing in how it all unfolds this season, how Arteta uses those options that he has on the left side of the defence and maybe what sort of partnerships they're going to have with specific players in attack. So we'll talk about that today. We'll talk about the latest team news ahead of the game against Nottingham Forest as well, who might be back, who probably still going to be missing. Going to talk about Fabio Vieira as well. Details emerging from Germany about his loan deal and the sort of details behind it. So we'll talk about that. Got some questions and comments from you guys, as always, to get stuck into. Myself and James Benge will be sitting down a little bit later on today for Inside Arsenal Extra Time. So as usual, if you want to get involved in that show, you want to ask us a question, give us your opinion, anything like that, just get down below into the comments. Start there, as usual, with Extra Time. Give us your comment, give us your question. I'll pull something together and get them included in the show. Right, let's get stuck into this one, shall we? And we'll start with Fabio Vieira, who, of course, completed his move to Hamburg on deadline day, a loan move for the season for Fabio. Arsenal spent the summer trying to move him on, trying to sell him permanently. Couldn't get that deal done. Didn't have any takers. Offered him to a fair few clubs. His agents were offering him around, trying to get him moved. There's a report in Germany that they were really sort of pushing to see if Bayern Munich could take him when Musiala got his injury. That obviously didn't happen. He ended up going to Hamburg, same club as Sami Lokonga, of course, on deadline day. And reports in Germany, Bild have done a big report on the move for Fabio, and there's some interesting details on there in the exact sort of nature of the loan deal. Now, the initial loan fee is 400,000 for Fabio. What I don't really get in this is that, according to Bild anyway, gets refunded if he becomes a regular player for Hamburg. I don't really get that, I have to say. It's like, why are you giving him a refund? Why are Arsenal saying, okay, you can have a refund if he plays well? Surely if he plays well, that's just the benefit of taking him on loan, is you've got a loan player from Arsenal and he plays well. Why do you pay Arsenal back? I don't understand it. It's almost like normally there'd be sort of something written into a clause for a loan deal like this. If he doesn't play well, if he doesn't play many minutes, then that loan fee has to go up because the Arsenal want him to play minutes because they want him to get in the shop window, play well, and then that lead to a permanent move. So I can't really get my head around the fact that if he plays regularly and does well, then that's going to end up in a refund for Hamburg and basically Arsenal not getting any loan fee for him. I just can't quite get my head around that. It just seems really, really bizarre to me. As we've reported before, the buy clause, if it gets turned permanent, is 20 million euros, which is about just over 17 million pounds. That would be Hamburg's, who've just come up, just come up for this season. That would be their club record transfer fee. Now, my initial thought on that was, that's not going to happen. They're not going to spend 20 million euros on Fabio Vieira. I'd be surprised. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he goes there and tears it up, smashes it, does really, really well, and that gets and Hamburg trigger that option. They stay up, avoid relegation, stay up, do well in the Bundesliga, and Fabio Vieira makes that move permanently. The buy option runs until mid-May, so that's when they have the option to turn that permanent, and Arsenal would have a 10 to 20% sell-on as well written into that if the buy option is taken. So all that sounds relatively fine and normal to me. I just can't quite get my head around why Arsenal would agree to refund the loan fee that they would get if he plays well. I just think it's a really bizarre one. But I don't know. Do you agree with me? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But I thought that was an interesting little bit of info coming out of Germany on the sort of exact makeup of the Fabio Vieira deal. Now, talking about the left side, sort of looking ahead to the game against Nottingham Forest, but also looking a little bit further down the line when maybe Pierre Nketiah settles and becomes more of a real sort of option for Mikel Arteta, because I'd be very surprised, for example, if Hincapié goes straight into the starting 11 this weekend. You'd imagine Arteta and Arsenal are going to give him time to bed in. And when he does that, then he'll become a real serious option for that left-hand side. So, I mean, for this weekend, I think Ricardo Calafiori will obviously start at left-back, barring there's no injury issue from the international break. But I do think when you look at the options that Arsenal have now on that left-hand side, it's so strong, but they're all quite different, really, really different. I think we know what Miles can do. He's much more of the sort of inverted player. He sort of moves into that central midfield area, which obviously he is a central midfielder by trade, and he moves into that role, does the inverted role, does it so well, did it brilliantly towards the end of the last season. Calafiori is a little bit more kind of swashbuckling from Miles. He gets really involved in the attack. Again, he does like to drift just into the sort of more central areas as well, but maybe a little bit higher up the pitch than Miles, often seeing him basically playing as a left 8 role a lot of the time when he's on the pitch. And then Hincapié, certainly from what we've seen from him, watching the highlights of his performance for Ecuador the other day against Argentina, definitely overlaps more. If he's playing as a left back, can overlap more and use that pace more to be maybe more of a sort of natural left back. So they're all very different options for Arsenal, and it adds to the unpredictability that I know Mikel Arteta is trying to build in this squad. I think it's been very, very obvious, isn't it, for a long, long time, how Arsenal use their left backs. We've all known it, whether it be Zinchenko or then since Arsenal moved on to Miles, it was always that inverted role, become the extra man in midfield, try and dominate midfield that way. And it has become a bit predictable. Every opposition manager will know that. Calafiori definitely makes it a lot less predictable when he's in the side. I think he's a chaos merchant, isn't he? I think that's how we all know him. And that's how I imagine opposition sort of look at him as well. And he's very hard to pick up in the areas that he gets into. He's so physically strong as well that he's hard to sort of muscle off the ball when he does bring that sort of chaos. And that's another different option that Arteta can use. But then if you're going with Hincapié, you definitely, I would say, if you're playing him as a left back role, you're going to be looking at him to get on the overlap an awful lot more. And that's when you would imagine if it's Eze starting in front of him. And when you look at Eze's best route into the team, he's definitely that sort of left-sided attack. At the moment, that's his best route into the team, because you don't see him really moving Declan Rice out of team, or Arteta just switching things around when it comes to Declan Rice in that left 8 role. And if you've got Eze, who obviously likes to cut inside from that left-hand side position, he did it so well against Crystal Palace. So many of his goals come from that area, and he gets inside, gets his shot away, bends it towards the far corner. If you've got him doing that on the left-hand side of the attack, it's very different to Gabriel Martinelli. And then you can maybe pair him with Hincapié more than the other fullbacks, and Hincapié can get down the left-hand side. If Martinelli's playing, maybe that's sort of better with Calafiori. There just is so many options now on that left side. And that's just what Arsenal needed, because Arsenal have been so right side orientated for so long now. That's where the threat is. That's where the other teams will focus, because they kind of know the left side is it's a lot easier to shut down. If you're playing against Arsenal and you're thinking, right, where do we have to focus our areas? Where do we maybe have to add an extra man to try and nullify their threat? It's over on the right-hand side, because that's where all the threat comes from. So you can kind of leave the other side and you're not as much worried about it. But if Arsenal can suddenly add these new options on the left-hand side, give teams another thing to think about, then suddenly, Bukayo Saka will end up not being doubled or tripled up on. And that will just improve Arsenal's chances on both sides of the pitch, you would think. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Arteta uses all of these players, because they're all going to play lots of minutes. I'm absolutely sure of it. And I'm really interested how he uses them, what partnerships we see them sort of forming with the attackers, whether it be Hincapié and Eze, whether it be Calafiori and Martinelli, whether it be Martinelli and Miles Lewis-Skelly, whether it be, Trossard thrown into the mix with one of those guys as well. I'm really interested to see what Mikel's going to do with that left-hand side. But let me know your thoughts on it. As always, please, in the comments below, what partnerships you see forming down that side for Arsenal. Team news-wise, ahead of the game this weekend, Ben White's kind of the big one. Obviously, we'll wait and see what Mikel's going to say at his press conference about Bukayo Saka. Bukayo Saka's hamstring was not as bad as first feared, and there was a hope he was going to be, if not ready for Forest, he would be ready near enough after the international break. And Arsenal got 2 big games coming up next week in Bilbao and then home to City, obviously. And you would imagine that if there's any sort of doubt over Bukayo Saka, City's a game that everyone's looking at. Okay, let's get him back for City. Let's not take any risks before City. Ben White, Arsenal definitely hoping that he'll be back fit this weekend. Christian Norgard as well. Remember him, Christian Norgard. He could be back available this weekend. So that's good news for Arsenal. Obviously, Gabriel Jesus still out. Obviously, Kai Havertz still out as well. But Saka, we'll wait and see what Mikel says. But Ben White will be back, and well, hopefully will be back, and that'll be a bit boost for Arsenal. And using him and Jurriën Timber, being able to rotate them and not running Timber into the ground, for example. It's really, really important that both of those right backs can stay fit, because the last 2 seasons, it's just not happened for a long enough period of time. And if they can both be fit, both be available, allow Mikel to be able to rest and rotate and share the minutes in games on that right-hand side, it'll be really, really useful for Arsenal. It'll be great to see Ben White back as well, because he's such an important player. For Nottingham Forest, looks like they'll be without Ola Aina. He got injured playing for Nigeria. Went off with what looked like a hamstring injury as well. So you would expect this will certainly come too soon for him. Good player, really integral part of that defence. So it'll be interesting to see what Ange Postecoglou does in his absence as well. I think Postecoglou's first press conference is today. Mikel's is obviously tomorrow, but we might be hearing from Ange today. So maybe we'll get a little bit more team news-wise from him ahead of the game this weekend. Right. This is what some of you guys have had to say about the sort of team selections. Max has got in touch, says, "Hi, Charles, with a tough away game in the Champions League on Tuesday and Man City the following weekend, I would factor in who could use a bit of rest in a position we have another high-quality player. Specifically, I would rest Rice and Odegaard after each playing over 80 minutes on a Tuesday. Spanish players got 2 extra days of rest. Also, let's ride the good form of Merino had in the right-sided 8 for Spain." So Max is starting 11 for Forest. Raya, Timber, Mosquera, Gabriel Calafiori, Merino, Zubimendi and Eze, Madueke, Gyökeres and Trossard. Madueke off around 60 minutes, also for a rest for either Dauman or Martinelli. Wow, big changes there from Max. No Rice and Odegaard. I cannot see a way that that's going to happen, Max. I have to say, do not see Mikel doing that. Kwabe says, "Hi, Charles. This is my preferred lineup for Forest. Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel and Calafiori. Rice, Zubimendi, then Madueke on the right, Odegaard, Eze and Gyökeres. Hincapié will be used by Arteta in big matches such as Man City, Liverpool and Chelsea." I have to say, out of the two there, sorry, Max, I'm thinking he's going to go with that bottom selection. I'll be surprised. Saka, maybe if Saka's fit, Saka will start, but I don't think you need to take any sort of risk on Bukayo Saka. And I still feel this is probably going to come a little bit too soon for him. So I think you'll be right. Kwabe, Madueke on the right, Eze on the left, Odegaard in the centre with Gyökeres ahead of them. So thank you very much for both of you guys getting in touch. I've got one here from DJ on the Inside Arsenal Discord chat who says he saw this question on Twitter and would like to know your thoughts. If you had to pick one player from Wenger's final 11 to be a mainstay in today's team, who would it be? For the sake of the hypothetical, it's how the players were playing back then in that game, not how they would be playing now. So the lineup, God, this was a bad lineup. The lineup for this game was Huddersfield. Remember Wenger's last game, the 1-0 win. I think Aubameyang scored the winner. I was there for that game. Ospina in goal. Bellerin right back, Mustafi and Holding. Wow. What a pair. As the centre-backs with Kolasinac at left-back, then it was Xhaka, Iwobi and Ramsey, Mkhitaryan, Lacazette and Aubameyang. Oh, my God. Who would I pick as one player? Now, we were debating this on the Discord earlier. It's basically between 2 players, isn't it? It's between Aubameyang and Ramsey for me out of this. If any one of those was going to go in, it's really tough. It's really tough. Look, Aaron Ramsey's certainly of the Emirates series, one of my favourite Arsenal players. Absolute legend in my eyes. Love him to bits. Gave me some of the greatest memories I've had. I mean, the goal against Hull City, just loved it. Loved it. Scored so many great goals for Arsenal. We were talking on Discord about that goal against Galatasaray. My goodness me, what a goal. The thing is, if I pick Ramsey, that means I'm not picking Odegaard. But if I pick Aubameyang, I think I'd play Aubameyang. I think if I had them playing as well as they were, scoring all those goals, I'd have Aubameyang, I think, just because I play him up front. I think there's a pit in this team that we've got right now. If there's one player that I'd put in there, I'd probably put Aubameyang in just as a striker. As much as I love Aaron Ramsey, I think I'd stick with, I'm quite happy with the midfield that Arsenal have got Zubimendi, Rice and Odegaard. But, if Aubameyang was at his best right now and playing and scoring goals in this Arsenal team, they'd be getting plenty. So I think I'd probably just go Orba. Sorry, Aaron. But yeah, Orba. I'm going for Orba. Definitely not going for any of the defenders I have to say. No disrespect to them. Here's a few more now before we wrap this one up today. Back 8823 says, bar any fitness issues, I would start Eze on the left this weekend. Think it would be smart to take Martinelli out of the limelight for a bit. Eze must be chomping at the bit to make his home debut, and I'm sure with Madueke they will get their first goals for the club. Gyökeres is always hungry for goals, I say, and unleash them all on Forest and give Ange the worst first game in history. Well, that'd be nice. That would be nice. And I agree. I think Eze's got to be starting on the left for this game. I really, really do. Abraham says, Madueke will excel at Arsenal. He's an Arsenal player. We will train him. He's young. He's in a good environment. He will flourish. I hope you're right. Certainly been a good start, a bright start from Madueke, and hopefully he can build on those good performances for Arsenal, but also for England that we saw in midweek, and certainly silenced a lot of the doubters that followed him around, myself included, in the summer when that transfer was going through. And Frederick says, Eze to start ahead of Martinelli, but we need to support Martinelli during this difficult time for him. 100% agree with you, Frederick. You also say, I'm surprised you're not mentioning Trossard. Look, Trossard's going to be an important player, no doubt about that. He'll play a lot of games. He will be important for Arsenal, but he doesn't get near my starting 11, or in my starting 11 at the moment, I have to say. But as I said, he's going to be an important player, no doubt about that. Arsenal are going to need him to perform this season, and he will. He plays in plenty of positions, so he'll be a very important player. And that's it from me today. Well, not today, because I'm back later on with Inside Arsenal Extra Time with James Benj, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But that's it from me this morning, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Like I said, I'll be back later to do it all over again. Have a good one. Bye-bye.